poem about a hell of a woman, Billie Holiday. The poem is called Black Spoon. Baby, you were meant to be home. You were meant to be what I ain't never known. Blue flame done melted my song, and you won't tell me if you'll risk the curse between my thighs. Won't give me more than the music of your fingers strumming my slip's strap. Your chest sings to my heart's ear while your wicked wisdom works its secret privilege. But you won't give me more than your body, tuned for walking out my door. Hush now, I'm the one done let you in. Here's what I've been cooking, what I scored before you came. You brought me nothing I ain't already known. I am bright as a horn. Listen, I'll blow you down. So before I got knocked up and became a family woman and moved to Oakland, I used to spend some time in the Makeout Room. I lived on the corner right there at 22nd and South Van Ness, and it was an awesome place to live. But it was loud. There was a lot going on. It had me a little agitated all the time. It could have been the Makeout Room. It could have been the corner. I don't know. But in that midst of all that, I wrote this poem. And the last couple weeks, I feel like we're back in that sort of high alert state with tsunami warnings and nuclear catastrophe. My sister was in Japan when all that was going, and I thought I would read this poem because I'm back in that high agitation space. Emergency plan. First, we decided where to meet. The fire was coming, and I knew what we would need. Flashlights, water, condoms, and a shot of our imaginary sun. Only what we used to call our peeping birds startled me into starting days long before the city bus commenced its run. That's when I knew we hadn't done enough in case the sky fell while I was driving. And I packed a pair of panties, matches, some aspirin in the trunk. After we stopped making breakfast plans, the pecking woke me early, and by breakfast I was always eating lunch. I secreted in my office that little blue box, trail mix, shekels, and seed to plant after the revolution was over and done. I made sure we remembered where we planned to meet, taught us to swim in case we came near water when it decided to flood. But those damn birds with their nesting scattered on the patio were eventually the most reliable alarm, and only to level the threat, I fashioned a carry-all from the pillowcase I no longer slept on. I filled it, tinned meat and crackers, chocolate, a little musk, so I can recall how we smelled before this end was begun. If anybody thinks poetry can never get you anywhere, this book of mine, Stuck on the Marrow, got me an opportunity to let my husband sit next to Vanessa Williams, which totally won me awesome wife points. I was thinking, as I was writing this poem, like that phrase where I was like, that's really inhumane treatment. And I've always thought that that was a stupid phrase, because people aren't really nice. So I wrote this poem, The Truly Inhumane Act, or Kindness. When she was just two buds and a dream of sway, Molly had a hope thought that told her she would be someone in whose presence men could try to be more than themselves. But she's 16 now. She was in his arms the night before, and because there was a moment when a stroke of his grace overwhelmed her, she is still there now. And even now, barely a sleep thought away from how Shad called her name to sound like settling down in her was his left foot, following his right foot into the craft that would harbor him. Molly understands it is only his body he needed to save, and saving it, for her, had nothing to do with grace. There will be nothing but hurt for days unless she reaches over and to the knot beside his spine applies the plush press of her thumbs, and soothing him that way grants some relief. And I'll close with one last poem. What You Want. There's a kind of woman whose switch comes from the willow of her hair, and whose sway is unnerving, and who branches what she knows and whom far beyond your knowing. A kind of woman miraculous as the flight of many heavy birds. You crane to see her formation shifting always in and again in to a darting perfection that knows where heat lives. Her kettle is always steaming, and inside you will find bits of yourself, skin and muscle and force of will slipping off the bone, tender and delicious. Thanks so much for coming.